Discover how this struggling single mom's unlikely date with a CEO revealed a transformative bond. Angela stared at the envelope, its crisp edges contrasting sharply with her frayed reality. As a waitress in a small Midwestern town, she had long grown accustomed to the relentless grind. Each day felt like a fight for survival, tugging her way through late shifts with aching feet, the ever-present burden of rent reminders clinging to her thoughts like an unwanted shadow. The invitation to the upscale charity gala tantalized her with the promise of something different, but it felt like a cruel joke, an event meant for those untouched by struggle. What would she wear? How could she fit into that world? Lucy's bright smile flashed in her mind, and Angela held on to the idea that every effort she made was for her daughter's future. Yet deep down, doubt gnawed at her. Draped in a borrowed dress, Angela stepped into the gala's opulence, the glinting chandeliers and laughter of the elite suffocating her. She felt out of place, like a moth fluttering near a flame, trapped between longing and fear. Her heart raced, the rhythm of uncertainty pulsing with each unfamiliar face. She didn't belong here, yet here she was, fighting the urge to turn around, to retreat back to the comfort of her small kitchen and Lucy's innocent questions about her day. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Angela took a breath, feeling the heat rise under her borrowed dress. Suddenly, she was seated next to Jason, the charismatic CEO of a tech company, whose confident smile disarmed her. Hearing him speak was like hearing a melody in her discordant world. Each laugh, every word shared spun a web around them, slowly reeling her in. They traded stories, his successes gleaming like polished marble, her struggles tumbling out in waves of vulnerability. It was an unexpected comfort, yet with every shared moment came an undercurrent of tension. As their connection deepened, Angela felt both drawn to him and wary of her feelings. Did he understand? No suit, no title could shield him from the impact of economic hardship, yet his world was proven by riches while hers existed on a balancing act of survival. Conflicting emotions churned in her gut. Just as hope began to unfurl its delicate wings, an announcement from Jason's company penetrated the evening's warmth, a project that would threaten her community, the very heart of her life. Angela's breath hitched. The man who brought forth joy stood at the helm of a storm that would devastate her peaceful existence. She felt her world tilt, admiration turning into gut-wrenching uncertainty. A wave of anguish crashed over her. How could she reconcile the kindness he had shown her with the looming threat of loss? Doubt darkened her mind. Was compassion worth this potential betrayal? Each question escalated with urgency, and as she glanced at Jason, she felt the pull of conflicting loyalties tearing deeper at her core, leaving her gasping in the grips of a dilemma that threatened everything she valued. Each look exchanged with him bore the weight of her fears. Would he stand with her, or against her? The night continued swirling around her as she stood petrified between desire and the fierce love for her daughter, the forked path ahead plaguing her mind. The stakes of their connection grew daunting, and as shadows danced on the walls, so too did the haunting possibilities of what lay ahead. Angela's chest tightened as the words from the announcement echoed in her mind, each syllable a reminder of the impending threat to her community. The gala's glamorous facade faded, becoming an oppressive weight that pressed down on her shoulders. She felt disoriented, a stark contrast to the warmth radiating from Jason's presence. How could they share laughter and dreams when the consequences of his company's actions hung heavily in the air? Panic threatened to engulf her. She forced herself to breathe, desire for escape creeping in, but she could not abandon the chance she had taken to step beyond her confines. Beneath the glimmering surface of the event, she sensed complexity and connection, fragments of a narrative forming around her. What just happened? Jason asked, his brow furrowed with genuine concern. You seemed fine a moment ago. His worry sparked a flicker of gratitude that intertwined with her anguish. Angela hesitated, the truth of her tumultuous thoughts caught in her throat. I can't help but think about the community. Your project, it's going to hurt people. Her heart raced as the words left her lips, raw and honest, disrupting the fragile bubble they had created. His expression became guarded, a flash of apprehension crossing his features. The development has potential benefits too. Jobs, innovation jobs. At what cost? She interrupted, voice quivering. You're looking at numbers and projections, while I see families struggling to make ends meet. My friends, people I care about, will suffer. The fire in her voice ignited a flicker of recognition in Jason's eyes. Angela, I didn't know. Our discussions focused on the bigger picture, but you're right. The sincerity in his tone felt like the first thaw of spring, hinting at possibilities yet to unfold. Maybe it's time I listened more to the people behind the statistics. That moment shifted something in Angela. It was a glimpse of his willingness to confront the values underlying his success. She recognized a new potential within herself, a powerful sense born from standing up for her community. It wasn't just about longing for a life she had never known, it was about making her voice count, helping to mold futures. Taking a step forward, Angela leaned slightly into the conversation. If we are to connect on any level, you need to understand the true impact of your decisions. Your projects can't just be abstract ideas you toss into the ether. They need to be rooted in reality. I am living proof of the struggles your development will worsen. Something unspooled within her, a blend of determination and vulnerability. She wasn't just a waitress lost among the elite, she was a warrior for her daughter's future. Each feeling of impotence and despair began to slowly transform into resolve. What if instead of imposing your vision, you opened a dialogue with people like me? Share your plans, understand our needs, work with us. That's how you truly become a leader. Her heart raced, propelled by a newfound sense of agency. The idea fueled a fire inside her that she never knew existed, one they could nurture together. Jason studied her, the tension etched across his brow, the hesitation dissolving into contemplation. She could almost see the gears working in his mind on the precipice of a realization that could alter both their paths. Let me be part of the discussion, he finally said, his voice steady. I want to understand what we can improve. I want to make sure this doesn't disadvantage anyone. Angela's pulse quickened, hope unfurling amidst fears. Was it possible that they could forge not merely a connection but a partnership grounded in something greater than themselves? Their eyes locked, and the atmosphere shifted, sparking a communal ambition. But beneath the excitement lurked uncertainty, a caveat they both now carried. Each step deeper into this partnership could either breed transformation or further division. As the night wore on, Angela felt the familiar suffocation of possibility. It was exhilarating but terrifying. Where would this new path lead them both? Yet as they spoke of ideas and plans, the urgency of her life outside the gala loomed. The realities of balancing her daughter's needs with this unexpected partnership tugged at her thoughts. Could she truly commit herself to this emerging alliance without sacrificing her responsibilities? The evening lingered, promising connection, transformation, and growing questions about keeping her priorities aligned. Angela found herself standing at a crossroads with Jason, testing her vision while grappling with hope against the stark realities of her life. What awaited them at the end of this shared journey? The moment hung heavy, choice looming just beyond reach, as she moved closer to a decision. Was she ready to embrace this unexpected partnership, knowing that every goal was intertwined with her greatest fears? As the gala swirled on, she felt the weight of her universe shift once again, teetering on the edge of a potential alliance that could redefine everything. With resolve hardening in her heart, she asked herself if she was prepared to step fully into this unknown territory, and what it would ultimately mean for both her future and Lucy's. Angela's thoughts clashed like storm clouds, the gravity of the moment pressing her to consider the unthinkable. As she stood there, the gala illuminated all around her with its opulence and filled with laughter, she felt like a ghost drifting through her own life. Jason's eyes were still locked on hers, and for an instant, the cacophony of the event dissolved into silence. What happens now? She murmured, her voice barely louder than a breath. He shifted, uncertainty lingering in the air. "We find a way to make your voice heard. I need to comprehend the broader implications of my work, as uncomfortable as it might be." The resolve she had felt only moments ago began to waver. Was this genuine, or merely a fleeting impulse to placate her? She fought back skepticism but couldn't shake the voice warning her that this was only the beginning of a deeper entwining, one that could fracture her reality even further. As the night dragged on, they discussed ideas and pathways, Jason sketching plans on napkins and Angela outlining the critical voices often drowned in corporate decisions. He began to listen, really listen, shaping his projections with an awareness of human stakes rather than mere metrics. Her heart raced with each shared word, yet insecurity flickered at the edges of her thoughts. Would this collaboration lead them to clarity, or would it entrap her deeper into a world she had always viewed through tinted glass? She knew that nothing worthwhile came without a price. Her future and Lucy's prospects danced perilously on the edge of an alliance forged in uncertainty. In a fleeting moment of silence, she withdrew inward, questioning if she truly believed her own words. Were her aspirations to influence real, or like the bright lights around them, merely a distraction from harsh truths? Could Jason truly grasp the complexity of lives beyond his corporate scope? With an exhalation that felt more like a confession, she blurted, "What if you could change everything for the better, but at the cost of your company's profits?" "What then?" Jason blinked, his brow furrowing in thought. "A difficult choice, but one I must consider, balancing the needs of the people with the growth of the business. Isn't easy. Can it be done?" "It has to be," she insisted, boldness surging again. "You have the power to decide what kind of leader you want to be. But don't forget, it takes more than a partnership to engender real change. People have to trust you, and trust is earned." His fingers drummed against his chin, the wheels in his mind visibly spinning. "And how do I earn it? What steps can I take to open that dialogue?" Angela felt her heart pounding with determination as her thoughts took a startling turn. Here was an opportunity not just for her, but for Jason as well. If he were to gather opinions from her community, it would also serve her goal of ensuring they were included in decision-making processes. "Shall we organize community meetings? Allow people to voice their concerns, hear their stories?" "The idea is brilliant," he replied, excitement igniting in his voice. "But are you ready to lead that effort? You'll have to step into the spotlight." The weight of his words hung between them, pregnant with potential and anxiety. Could she truly lead? Her heart whispered an affirmation, while the shadow of doubt loomed, echoing past failures. This was different. This was a fight for something tangible, for Lucy's future. But, she hesitated, the warm thrill of ambition wavering. What if my efforts only end up being dismissed? What if no one listens? Jason stepped closer, his resolve emanating from him like a beacon. "That's the risk we take. But isn't it better to fight than to remain silent in despair? One person's voice can resonate, Angela. You've already begun doing that tonight." The exhilarating promise of change was palpable, but so was the fear of failure, the fear of overstepping her bounds. Yet, embracing the precipice offered her clarity she didn't anticipate. This could redefine her relationship with Jason, her place in her hometown, her purpose in life. As the night continued to unfold its layers, Angela felt the pull of an unseen road that spread before her, filled with uncertainty but glimmering with hope. Would she seize this chance to not only elevate herself but gather her community, a fight for dignity in a world often too willing to overlook the individual perspectives that shaped it? With her heart thudding in her chest, she accepted the truth. The time had come to confront her insecurities head-on and step into an uncertain yet promising future. But with all her resolve, she also asked herself, what would it mean to forge ahead without losing her essence in the process? The night breathed possibilities, both thrilling and terrifying. She was on the brink of a decision that could not only reshape her destiny but also the destinies intertwined with hers. Now, it was her turn to decide the fate she was willing to embrace, as the echo of resolve began to drown out her doubts. But beneath the burgeoning excitement lay the chilling question: just how deep was she prepared to plunge into Jason's world, and would that world welcome her back as she sought to reclaim her own? The days limped by after the gala, each hour dragging on with a stubbornness that caught Angela off guard. She spent her mornings whirling through routines and her evenings steeped in reflection. The gravity of the conversation she had shared with Jason settled heavily on her chest, every pulse of uncertainty reverberated through her thoughts. As she cradled her coffee, she caught sight of Lucy, her daughter's laughter bubbling like a brook in the backyard. Angela's heart tightened at the thought of her sole motivation. The weight of fleeting success and the potential for disappointment pressed on her, and she inhaled deeply, attempting to ground herself. The thought of leading those community discussions remained tethered to her mind, impossible to shake off. She envisioned herself addressing a room of familiar faces, voices swirling in a cacophony of concerns she would struggle to orchestrate. Each time she pictured it, her stomach twisted into knots. Would they see her as a leader, or merely another voice drowned out by the noise? But this wasn't merely about her fears, it was about Lucy's future. In that moment of clarity, urgency surged through her. How could she encourage trust and involvement if she hesitated to take a step forward? Determination crackled like static in the air. She would need to embrace this role not only as a leader but as an advocate. Her cell phone buzzed on the table, jolting Angela from her thoughts. It was Jason, a casual text suggesting they meet to brainstorm about the community discussions. The flicker of anxiety was quickly quenched by a spark of excitement. This could be the first tangible step towards change, yet, as she typed a quick affirmation, doubt crept in. What if he suddenly reconsidered? What if he saw her as simply a means to bolster his image instead of a true partner in this endeavor? Her fingers hesitated over the screen, uncertainty rippling through her as the self-doubting voice whispered warnings. She took a breath and hit send. Angela couldn't afford to waver now. That impulsive choice awakened something primal within her, an ember of fierce ambition. The next day, they met in a small cafe, tucked away from the gleaming facade of the corporate world. Angela felt alive in the buzzing atmosphere, the chaos of mixed conversations underlined only by the sharp tang of freshly brewed coffee. She could almost taste empowerment as she crossed her legs, asserting her presence across from Jason. "Let's map this out," she said, her voice steadier than she felt. "If we're going to gather people, we need to make them feel this is their platform, not just ours." Jason leaned in, his brown eyes gleaming with intent. "What do we need to make that happen? Marketing materials, a proper venue?" "No," she replied, feeling clarity sink in like a sunrise. "We need stories. We host sessions where people can share and shape the conversation together. We can even create a digital space to foster ongoing dialogue." The enthusiasm radiating between them was tangible. She leaned into the budding partnership, relishing the feeling of creating something meaningful. Each idea they exchanged ignited her spirit, lifting her past the shadows of self-doubt. But beneath her excitement lay an ever-looming question: was this all a charade? Could she hold the reins with credibility if she couldn't shake off the fear that ultimately, they could falter? Just as those thoughts clawed at her, Jason unfurled a plan that captured the heart of their mission. Let's make the first session a community gathering, informal yet focused. Establish trust from the start, show them we're committed to listening. Angela's heart quickened. Here was the moment she had dreamed of, yet a nagging thought twisted her gut. What if she fell short? What if the community didn't embrace her emerging leadership? The burden of failures past loomed fiercely above her with each positive sentiment whispered between them. "I can't help but feel pressure, Jason. What if they don't take us seriously? What if we fail to deliver?" Vulnerability cracked through her urbanity, exposing the raw anxiety she harbored. Jason's brow furrowed. "To dare is to risk failure, Angela. But change doesn't happen in the comfort zone. Are we ready to take that risk together?" His confidence was infectious, lighting a spark within her that she couldn't ignore. They were embarking on a journey together, an endeavor fraught with potential peril but rich with the promise of transformation. As they outlined the infrastructure needed for their idea, Angela faced the growing realization of her own capabilities. This could be her opportunity to redefine not just her voice, but her very essence. When they finally parted ways, a thrill coursed through her veins. She had willingly stepped closer to the tightrope she needed to walk. The balance between ambition and fear was precarious but exciting, yet, with every step forward, one thought continued to haunt her: what if the very people she aimed to inspire turned on her instead? As reservations mingled with hope, she couldn't shake the feeling that their journey might, in fact, be just beginning. Angela's mind raced as she lay in bed the night after their cafe meeting. The pale blue light of dawn crept through the curtains, reminding her that time was in constant motion. She could feel the weight of her new commitment pressing against her chest. The first gathering loomed ahead, a gathering she had subconsciously begun to envision as a lifeline to others and to herself. Morning routines felt different now, electric and charged with purpose. As she navigated the tasks of getting Lucy ready for school, her mind churned with thoughts of logistics and potential dialogues. She caught herself humming a tune, a melody that had once felt like luxury, now an anthem of resolve. Every movement was imbued with a renewed sense of duty, not just as a mother, but as a nascent leader. "Mom! Are you okay?" Lucy's voice broke through her reverie, full of genuine concern. "Just thinking, sweetheart," Angela replied, forcing a smile that felt both foreign and familiar. The day passed slowly, the anticipation building within her like a kettle ready to boil. Finally, she found herself perched at her computer, fingers poised above the keyboard. Each keystroke became a battle against the self-doubt that threatened to unfurl her progress. As she drafted an outline for their first session, it dawned on her the importance of authenticity in leadership. What kind of leader would she be if she didn't share her own story alongside those of others? Feeling emboldened, she wrote her personal narrative, a story of struggles, triumphs, and relentless hope. It was raw and unrefined, but it encapsulated her journey. She realized that vulnerability could be the bridge to connect with those she aimed to lead. There was power in authenticity. She would carry her hesitations into the space with her, allowing others to relate and engage on a deeper level. When she met Jason later that week, wealth of inspiration surged through her from the moment they exchanged greetings. She felt a palpable shift in their dynamic, the dialogue alive with purpose. "I've been thinking about how crucial it is for us to share our stories," she began, heart racing with the focus she could feel tightening around her. Jason regarded her with an intensity that made her pulse quicken. "What do you have in mind?" "I want people to feel they can bring their raw, honest experiences to the group. We lead the way by being real. It isn't just about him and me, it's about everyone." Angela could hear the heightened conviction in her voice, each word infused with the bravery she had begun to harness. Jason nodded, the contrast of their personalities becoming a source of strength. "Then let us build an agenda that reflects that. We start with sharing circles instead of formal presentations. It's more approachable." The conversation flowed, each new idea igniting a bond between them. For the first time, Angela didn't just see Jason as a facilitator, but as a co-creator, another ally in the pursuit of meaningful change. Yet, in the midst of their intellectual dance, the personal rapport began to tangle into something deeper. Each shared laugh and merged vision connected them, creating a synergy that both excited and terrified her. "Okay, what's next?" she asked, feeling a sense of completion wash over her. "We announce it," he said, the conviction in his eyes resonating with her newfound resolve. "Set a date and invite people." As she stepped out of the cafe, Angela felt the fierce grip of anxiety tugging at her again. What if all this effort unraveled? What if people didn't respond the way she hoped? But alongside the doubts, there was now a resolute flame, a commitment to embrace whatever came next. That night, Angela sat at the edge of her bed, staring at the blank page ahead of her. Her heart raced as she prepared to write the invitation, yet the anticipation felt exhilarating, transformative. But just as she took a breath to begin, her phone buzzed, a message alert from Jason lighting up the screen. "Have you thought about how to handle potential objections? The naysayers? We should discuss strategies to navigate through that." Angela's stomach twisted painfully at the thought. It was a dance with uncertainty she hadn't anticipated, but suddenly, it felt like the true test of her resolve was on the horizon. The weight of not just success, but vulnerability and trust loomed larger than ever, forcing her to confront yet another layer of her emerging identity. Her resolve began to shift, steeling her for the challenges ahead. The moment of truth loomed closer, and she knew she had to prepare, not just for the voices of support but for the critics as well. As she opened her laptop to reflect on Jason's words, the thought resonated in her heart: this could be the pivotal moment that defined her journey. Now, with objections waiting in the wings, was she truly ready to confront the naysayers? Would she falter or rise to the challenge? Angela sat frozen before her laptop, a daunting silence enveloping her like a thick fog. Jason's message echoed in her mind, nudging her toward a reality she had chosen to ignore. The thought of naysayers, their skepticism and ridicule felt like icy fingers clutching at her resolve. But beneath her hesitation, she could feel the embers of determination glowing brighter. Could she transform this anxiety into action? She took a steadying breath, aware that the path ahead would demand more than just her structured outlines and heartfelt invitations. It would require a strategy, a plan to engage with both allies and critics alike. Her fingers began dancing across the keyboard, drafting a list of potential objections. Each one she wrote down felt like a challenge she needed to face. What if it's not well attended? What if they find my ideas silly? What if they question my qualifications? Each question threatened to derail her confidence but also ignited a sense of urgency. She recognized that in acknowledging these fears, she could unmask them, expose their weaknesses to the light of her purpose. Next, she transformed her fear into responses. Each rebuttal she articulated felt liberating. If attendance is low, I will remind myself that every individual counts. Quality over quantity, she typed fervently. Silliness is subjective, I will embrace the whimsy. The backlash of potential criticism began to lose its grip as she dissected each worry, choosing instead to focus on the supportive voices she hoped would rise with her. As the words poured out, she began to envision the room where they would gather, the mix of faces, some familiar, others unknown. The thought filled her with a strange cocktail of hope and apprehension. Who were these people, really? What stories and experiences would they share? Would they lend their voices to collective empowerment, or would they shy away from vulnerability? Angela paused, the weight of her newfound leadership role striking her again. Could her determination serve as a unifying force? A text pinged on her phone, and once again, it was from Jason. I'll be there a day before the gathering. Let us go over what you've planned. I can help you solidify your main points, he wrote, and with it came a swell of both relief and anxiety. Perfect, she replied quickly, her pulse racing at the thought of their impending meeting. She started imagining how they could frame their vision, highlighting the importance of community, authenticity, and connection. Yet a part of her hesitated, a flicker of fear questioning her ability to articulate those ideas under pressure. What if she couldn't recover if hypothetical criticisms pierced through her preparations? The memories of past failures resurfaced, whispers of doubt that had long haunted her. Those shadows could not follow her into this new role. In that moment of reflection, Angela recognized something crucial about herself: she was reshaping her narrative. This initiative was not merely about leading others, it was about reclaiming her agency and redefining her identity. She left her desk to get fresh air. The crispness of the early evening filled her lungs as she walked into the backyard, Lucy's laughter wafting through the open sliding door. The sight of her daughter playing, carefree without a worry in the world, ignited a fierce protective instinct in Angela. Mom! Look! Lucy shouted, doing a little jump as she swung her arms out, as if catching invisible stars. Angela watched, marveling at her child's instinctual relationship with joy. In that moment, clarity washed over her: her fight wasn't just for herself. It was for Lucy, too. It was about cultivating a life and future where risks could be taken, where vulnerabilities could be expressed without fear of retribution. It was about modeling resilience, passion, and courage. With a renewed sense of purpose swelling within her, Angela turned back toward the laptop to refine her strategies. The stakes didn't seem quite as high anymore, they had transformed into stepping stones for growth both for herself and, hopefully, for others, but uncertainty still buzzed beneath the surface. As she pondered the emerging landscape of her journey, a thought struck her with renewed intensity. What if the true challenge wasn't just in confronting naysayers but also in uncovering her own blind spots, the fears she hadn't yet faced? As she prepared to dive deeper, one question lingered in her mind: when she faced the conversations that truly mattered, would she be ready to assert her newfound voice? In her heart, she felt the undeniable call to discover not just who she would lead, but who she was willing to become. The next day, Angela woke up to the buzzing of her alarm, a rhythmic reminder of the task ahead. The sunlight filtered through her curtains, casting a golden glow upon the walls and illuminating contrast to the shadows of doubt lurking within. She felt a shift in her mindset, as though the resistance she had battled through was beginning to dissolve. Today was about preparation and stepping into the role she envisioned. After shuffling through the morning routine, she sat down with a steaming mug of coffee, its rich scent clearing the remnants of last night's anxiety. As her fingers hovered above the keyboard, she caught a glimpse of the notes scattered across her desk, scribbled thoughts and half-formed ideas. Each was a testament to her evolving understanding of the complexities involved in her endeavor. What did her audience truly need? Beyond the hollow nerves and fears, what resonated within them? This thought became the focal point of her mission, and she crafted an agenda thoughtfully. Simplicity and authenticity emerged as guiding principles, a far cry from the idealistic notions that initially blinded her. It wasn't about creating a perfect presentation, it was about inviting honest dialogue, about revealing both strength and vulnerability. The contemplative calm of the morning gave way to an electric anticipation as she prepared for Jason's arrival. Would he see the change within her? Would he perceive the new conviction pulsating through her? The idea of him evaluating not just her plans but also her growth fueled her resolve, igniting a new urgency to embody the changes she cherished. She didn't have to wait long. Jason knocked at the door precisely on time. He entered, clad in a sharp blazer that radiated confidence. "Hey, Angela," he said, a bright smile lighting up his face. "Ready to make some magic happen?" She chuckled nervously, but Jason's enthusiasm proved infectious, and together they dug deeper into her ideas. As they discussed themes and tone, Angela saw the flicker of excitement ignite in Jason's eyes, an acknowledgement that perhaps this wasn't just another initiative. This held the potential for growth, for real connections. Yet, when they began honing the nuances and language of her message, a familiar uneasiness washed over her. What if it doesn't resonate? What if they find it self-indulgent? The words tumbled out before she could rein them in. His expression shifted to one of understanding. "You're not self-indulgent, Angela. You're sharing a part of yourself, a journey that others can learn from. Trust that voice," he encouraged, each word piercing through the membrane of her self-doubt. In that moment, Angela recognized the depth of her struggle. It was more than an issue of voice, it was an acceptance of her narrative. She reflected on the parts of her story she contemplated keeping hidden, her straightforward failures, the fear of inadequacy, and the scars that shaped her resilience. Would presenting these aspects invite engagement or repulsion? "Let us reframe that fear," Jason said gently. "Those vulnerabilities are the bridge. They create the connection. It's how you confront them that matters. This isn't about being perfect, it's about being real." His encouragement cracked a window in her rigid perceptions, offering a breath of fresh air. The balance between vulnerability and strength became clearer. What she had feared would alienate her could, in fact, draw others closer, creating a fertile ground for collaboration and empathy. By the end of their meeting, she felt lighter, as if a weight had been lifted. Yet, beneath that newfound lightness was an undercurrent of tension. What would it be like to expose her vulnerabilities fully? What if, amid all plans and strategies, she stumbled when it mattered most? As Jason packed up his things, he looked at her, a hint of pride in his voice. "You're on the right track, Angela. Don't forget to trust yourself." The audience isn't so intimidating once you begin to see them as fellow travelers. Watching him leave, the warmth of collaboration lingered, but it was the emerging clarity about her fears gnawing at her resolve that propelled her thoughts. The real fight was just beginning, the battle to embrace her vulnerabilities amid the scrutiny of others. Angela decided she would write down those fears, confronting them one by one. What if her most profound insight came from the exposure she so cleverly avoided? What if she stopped running from her shadows and instead acknowledged them as part of her authentic self? As she picked up her pen, she hesitated, the weight of vulnerability beckoning her towards a precipice. Would she be brave enough to embrace her journey fully? The thought electrified her, the opportunity for true transformation loomed just ahead. As she scribbled the first fear down, she realized this was the beginning of an essential chapter in her story, one that could either empower or paralyze her. With yet another fork in her journey emerging, she contemplated whether unveiling her fears could actually illuminate a path that faced the very core of who she was, the loyal daughter, the devoted mother, and the resilient leader she aspired to become. The weight of the moment settled on her. This was not merely a call to action, it was a call to identity. Would she answer? The pen hovered above the paper as Angela stared at her first fear, an uneasy jumble of words swirling in her mind. Would revealing her insecurities not only expose the fractures in her identity but also invite others to judge and dismiss her? She could feel the gravity of her thoughts pulling her into a spiral of self-doubt. Yet, what if this act of courage became her most profound breakthrough? With an abrupt movement, she plunged the pen onto the page, the ink spilling out like a release of pent-up emotions. I fear that my story will fall flat, that my experiences are irrelevant to those who sit before me, she wrote. The weight of the admission lightened the heaviness in her chest, transforming a once invisible burden into an articulated truth. Angela paused, reflecting on that fear. Realization washed over her, her journey mattered. Anyone who had faced difficulty could understand struggle. That connection could resonate through her stories. In essence, they weren't mere anecdotes but seeds of solidarity and encouragement. As she scribbled more of her fears, they began to lose their daunting power, transforming into stepping stones rather than stumbling blocks. Each tap of the pen solidified her commitment to confront these hurdles, to own her narrative, no matter how fragmented or chaotic it felt. This exercise shifted something within Angela. It was not just about disclosing her fears but sharpening her understanding of her own identity. Every word she wrote illuminated a facet of herself she had kept shrouded in shadows. Her vulnerabilities were emerging as vital components of her personal truth, not imperfections needing to be hidden, but rather threads in the tapestry of who she was becoming. Yet, a new fear surfaced: would others embrace these vulnerabilities, or would they turn away in judgment? The prospect of being judged remained intimidating. She clenched her jaw, grappling with the thought. Sharing her truth felt like offering an open invitation to critique, and the potential rejection unleashed a fluttering storm inside her. With her heart racing, Angela took a deep breath, refocusing on Jason's words from earlier. Vulnerability as a bridge, not a barrier. What if her authenticity became the very foundation on which she could build connections that transcended the superficial? What if by revealing herself, a shared humanity could emerge, allowing her to relate on a deeper level to those who listened? Determination coursed through her as she set the pen down. The clarity of her mission crystallized a commitment to embrace her true self. She needed to trust in the wisdom of her experiences, to stand firmly in her narrative as a single mother navigating challenges. Angela glanced at the clock, noting the time slipping away. She shook her head, clearing out the remnants of her doubts. There was a meeting at the community center to prepare for, where she would introduce her initiative to others, an introduction meant to catalyze collaboration. Would they see the courage behind her confrontational honesty? Could her words serve as launching pads for collective growth? With a newfound sense of urgency, she gathered her notes, ensuring her message retained that rawness she wished to convey. As she moved through her thoughts, a veil of anticipation settled over her. Yet, in the depths of her mind, a question lingered, testing her resolve. What if the courage to be vulnerable didn't just heighten her connection with others but also opened her up to unexpected adversities? Angela shook her head, dismissing the thought momentarily. She had made a promise to herself to navigate through fear, to dissolve the insecurities that once clouded her view. With her heart steadying, she resolved that she wouldn't back down now. As she left her desk, she felt an energetic shift within her, a sense of possibility stretching before her. Today was a pivotal step, a meeting set to challenge her perceptions and introduce her to individuals who might share her journey. The notion excited her but also made the fear deepen. What if revealing this raw, unedited version of herself opened doors she hadn't anticipated? The answer loomed, waiting to be discovered, as Angela exhaled and stepped towards the threshold of her potential. The time had come to embrace the unknown. Would she transform that fear into a force for her growth or succumb to its weight? The moments ahead were ripe with potential, each heartbeat echoing a challenge to truly transform. As Angela approached the meeting venue, nerves jittered in her stomach, snapping her focus back to the weight of her mission. She had envisioned this moment many times, each iteration stained with the fear of inadequacy. Was she truly ready to step into this new sphere, revealing herself to strangers? The thought left a sour taste in her mouth, but she pressed forward, reminding herself that beyond the fear lay her growth. The conference room stood before her, a stark contrast to her muddled internal landscape. Bright lights illuminated a polished space filled with chairs, a long table, and the faint scent of fresh coffee wafting through the air. The anticipation of meeting like-minded individuals pumped adrenaline through her veins, yet self-doubt tugged at her thoughts. What if they saw her not as a valuable contributor but simply as another statistic, another single mom lost in the shuffle? Her breath hitched. She reflected on Jason's earlier words about vulnerability. Could she really bridge the gap with her truth? Would her experiences echo in others' hearts or flutter away like dust in the wind? Suddenly, the sight of the table, a barren surface waiting to be filled with ideas and stories, encouraged a flicker of hope within her. She straightened her posture, reminding herself that every step forward was a testament to her resolve. When she entered the room, a few heads turned. Tentative smiles greeted her. She sensed curiosity coupled with uncertainty. Among them stood Mark, the group's facilitator, a confident figure with an easy smile and commanding presence. As he stepped forward, his attention shifted directly to Angela, piercing through her apprehension. "Welcome," he said, his voice smooth yet assertive. "We're eager to hear what you have in mind." Something in his tone urged her to respond, to share, to stretch into her authenticity. "Thank you. I've been working on an initiative based around storytelling and personal experiences," she began, her words flooding forth as if they had been bottled up for ages. "I believe that sharing our journeys can help us connect and heal, no matter our backgrounds." Angela's courage surged as she observed faces lighting up in recognition. She continued, speaking of challenges, triumphs, and the power of communal healing through vulnerability. Each word felt like an offering, a piece of herself she willingly laid before them. The more she spoke, the lighter her heart felt, a dance of vulnerability and strength blossoming in the spirit of that room. Yet, as she dove deeper, self-doubt crept back, gnawing at her thoughts. What if they criticized her? What if they dismissed her experiences as trivial? She caught herself glancing at Mark, wanting to gauge his reaction but hesitating to draw attention to her wavering confidence. Instead, she focused on the room, inviting connection through her words. To create something meaningful, she continued, we must embrace our fears and speak them out loud. Only then can we find common ground. With those words, she felt a shift. Something clicked within her, an urge to turn fear into strength. She was no longer just sharing her burden, she was carving out space in this dialogue for both herself and others. As the meeting progressed, Angela noticed the room buzzing with energy, participants nodding in agreement and sharing their perspectives. She found herself buoyed by their engagement, the weight of her earlier doubts lifting as each voice added to the chorus of shared experiences. She hadn't anticipated how powerful it would feel. The fear that had restrained her morphed into a driving force. When it came time for questions, Angela felt Mark's eyes on her. "Angela, I commend you for your courage to share your journey. Can you elaborate on how you envision involving others in this process?" His suggestion felt like an invitation to deepen the very foundation she'd begun to lay. Angela opened her mouth to respond, but a sudden rush of uncertainty surged. It tested her mettle, unveiled new possibilities. In that moment, she understood, this was not just about sharing her own voice, it was about creating a symphony of stories, interwoven with hers, resounding with authenticity. What if I could create a space where vulnerability is not just accepted but celebrated? She contemplated. As these thoughts cascaded, Angela realized she stood at a threshold far broader than she'd envisioned. What began as a fearful step toward outreach transformed into a prospect for empowerment, both for herself and those around her. The meeting concluded with laughter and excitement, the participants buzzing with ideas. Angela felt a spine-tingling sense of belonging seep in, a feeling she'd been craving yet doubting for too long. With a simmering enthusiasm in her chest, she stepped away, her next task blooming in her mind, to transform her vision into reality. But just as she began to plan, an unexpected voice interrupted her thoughts. Jason. He had entered the room, an earnest intensity gleaming in his eyes. What did he want now? Would this be a moment of connection or a resurgence of her doubt? The tension hung thick in the air, and as she turned to face him, the upcoming conversation pulsed with the undeniable promise of challenge and discovery. Would he stoke the fires of her newfound confidence or douse them with skepticism? Angela stood in the conference room, a whirlwind of emotions swirling within her. The meeting had unfolded in unexpected ways, bringing her closer to the community and igniting a newfound sense of purpose. Yet, the arrival of Jason, the CEO who had initially been a source of trepidation, sent a charge of anxiety through her. She took a deep breath, grounding herself in the moments of strength she had just experienced. Angela, he began, his voice earnest but steady, I saw you speak today. Your passion was palpable. It's clear that you have what it takes to lead this initiative and so much more. The sincerity in his words landed with unexpected warmth, easing the tension within her. Angela allowed herself to absorb his acknowledgement. For so long, she had doubted her capabilities, questioning whether she could truly impact her community. But standing before Jason now, she realized it wasn't just about the courage to speak, it was about the courage to believe in herself. Thank you, she replied, her voice steady. I've been on a journey of understanding how important it is for us to share our stories. It's vital to me that people feel seen in this process. Jason nodded, considering her words. That's powerful. If we want to see real change, we need to introduce authenticity at every level from the ground up to the boardroom. Your insights indicated how you could bridge that gap. Angela felt a fire of conviction ignite within her. Exactly, Jason. It's not just about creating a dialogue, it's about cultivating an environment where everyone feels empowered to contribute. I want to make sure we prioritize community voices in every phase. The conversation flowed between them, a dynamic exchange that banished lingering doubts. They spoke of logistics, outreach strategies, and how to inspire trust among community members. With every idea shared, Angela's confidence deepened. No longer was she the waitress floundering in a world of suits, she was emerging as a thought leader, guiding her own narrative and the stories of others. At last, their meeting began to wrap. Jason's expression shifted, becoming more serious. Angela, I want you to know that I'm committed to this. I can use my platform to amplify our message. We need to open more lines of communication, directly engaging with people. Angela held his gaze, feeling the weight of his offer. It was an invitation to adventurously navigate the complexities of leadership together. In that moment, she recognized an extraordinary shift not just in how she saw herself, but in how Jason viewed their connection. Thank you for believing in this vision, she responded earnestly. We can truly make an impact if we work hand in hand. As they departed, a sense of clarity washed over her. Angela had shifted from uncertainty to a profound recognition of her worth. She had stepped up for her community and, in doing so, secured her place as a valued collaborator, not just a participant. In the days that followed, Angela spearheaded community dialogue sessions shaped from her passion and vulnerability. She embraced the role of facilitator, weaving her own story of struggle and resilience into each gathering. Each meeting validated her motives, the room filled with voices eager to share. At one session, a young mother spoke about her job loss and fears of eviction. As Angela recounted her own story of overcoming obstacles, a bond formed that transcended the surface narrative. Their shared experiences illuminated the room, instilling hope and fostering connection that wrapped around them like a warm blanket. As weeks turned into months, Angela's initiative flourished, creating a ripple effect of empowerment in her community. People began to share their ideas and aspirations, crafting projects that resonated with their realities. It was no longer a single voice but a symphony of stories, all echoing the same truth: authentic connection creates transformative pathways. The culmination of her efforts came in the form of a community celebration. With Jason by her side, they showcased stories shared throughout their sessions, transforming vulnerability into strength. Angela stood proud, holding a platform for honesty and resilience. In that moment, she finally recognized her place not merely as a waitress but as a leader, a beacon of hope. As the crowd began to disperse, Angela felt a sense of fulfillment envelop her. She had conquered her inner critic, rising above the limitations previously imposed on her identity. This was her transformation, her journey fulfilled. The morning sun streamed through her window as she sat with Lucy, the weight of her accomplishments sinking in. "Mom, you're a star," her daughter exclaimed, her eyes shining with pride. Angela smiled, the reflection of her growth clear in Lucy's sparkling gaze. She celebrated not only her achievements but the futures she was shaping for them both. She had proven to herself and to the world that she was more than her past struggles. She was a force for good, destined to uplift others. Stepping into her new identity, Angela felt solid confidence and recognized competence radiate from her. This was her moment of individual fulfillment, a promise realized, a purpose embraced. Now, you need to subscribe immediately to this channel so you don't miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and fuel our community's growth. Comment your reactions and theories about Angela's transformation. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this powerful conclusion. Don't wait even one more second to support our journey of personal overcoming. Your engagement is critical.